I have been fairly down on DC lately because of my Martin Quaid derangement syndrome. I didn't like the idea that the little arsehole has weaseled his way into writing DC comics again. It really makes us feel sick and uncomfortable, like he is a little scheming prick who stands behind closed doors and who will do a victory lap first chance he gets. So to take my mind off of Martin Quaid and DC Comics, here is a DC comic written by his ex-girlfriend. This is Justice League versus Tiny Titans, and I will front load this video by saying that this miniseries is honest to God perfect. This is the exact sort of thing that idiots think that Kurt Busey does. This is a sincere love letter to the Tiny Titans and all their history. Not just the Silver Age or One Run. Everything is given love and now is dismissed by a fake fanboy who wants to exert their own preferences onto the reader. This is written by Devin, Grayson, and Phil James is the artist. There is Star Fox, and you could be confused initially and think that this opening bit is being narrated by Star Fox when it is actually Shrek Boy talking. He is doing a very succinct recap of his history with the Tiny Titans. I haven't really read much Tiny Titans. The bulk of my knowledge on the team comes entirely from this miniseries. This and that other story I reviewed, and maybe a few tie-in issues to crossovers here or there. That is the only Tiny Titans I have read. I feel that this miniseries does a beautiful job of engaging someone with the Tiny Titans and all these different characters, both popular and well-known ones, and then more obscure and forgettable characters that in another writer's hands would be mocked or retconned. We have Shrek Boy, he is talking to Argos. There was apparently a Tiny Titans series just before this that completely reshuffled the team, and it was mostly all new characters like Argos, and then these two are here. I have never really heard anyone talk fondly about that period, but this story goes above and beyond in selling it as a legit piece of Tiny Titans history. There is Summit heading towards Earth that is decimating technology, and then there is the Justice League. And even though this series is called Justice League versus Tiny Titans, don't be fooled. This is a Tiny Titans story. It is a real love letter to this expansive team and their history, and the Justice League are along for the ride. The main link is that the Flask, the Willie West version, he is a bridge between the two teams. He is a current member of the Justice League, but is also a founding member and a mainstay of the Tiny Titans. But one of the clever things they do is they do stuff with his relationship with Green Lanterns, the Kyle Reese version, because Kyle Reese was also a member of the Tiny Titans for a time. The Justice League, they are the first to come into conflict with that thing that is heading towards Earth, so they gan out to meet it. This is the Van Morrison Justice League lineup. Had this miniseries came a few months earlier, it would have actually included Electric Superman. Onion, he is loads of fun in this series. He's kind of played for laughs. It's mostly him rushing into fights, being all boastful, but it is enjoyable. And then the thing that I think makes this super accessible and good for someone like me who doesn't quite recognise some of the more lesser known Tiny Titans. We have these little Andy Book style identification card things whenever a member of the team shows up or does something. You didn't see that many at first in this issue, but every member of the team receives one of these, and this is brilliant. I obviously love the Marvel and the DC Andy books, but I think in this comic it was an excellent decision to introduce all these characters to readers with something like this. We have Star Fox here, but like Joker's daughter or Argos or whoever, they all receive the exact same thing. Every member, while some are more prominent in the story, every member of the Tiny Titans is made to feel as equally important. I will give away the spoiler for the first issue, since it is the main plot for the mini-series. This thing that is assimilating all this technology and is heading towards Earth, it is Sideburns, and the debate about how to deal with them. He has been overwhelmed by his computer nature. That is the crux of the big debate that pits the Justice League and the Tiny Titans at loggerheads. Then one of Sideburns' sentries show up, and it scans Robert, the John Blake version, and it leaves realising that he isn't a match for the Robert that he was looking for, i.e. Dick Grayskull. This series was actually before John Blake and Superboy were Tiny Titans, but both of them still end up being brought into the story, which aligns quite nicely with them subsequently becoming members of the team. We didn't see much of the Tiny Titans in this first issue, which is a bit odd for a book that is so about them. But we learn that these sentry things, they're gunning after certain people like Willie West and Kyle Reese. They're gunning after the past members of the Tiny Titans. Even Atom Man, who was apparently a Tiny Titan for like a very brief time. Our here is Nightbird, Dick Grayskull, and there is our second handy book thing. I will say you have to have remarkable eyesight to actually be able to read them. So Sideburns, he is gunning around and abducting the former members of the Tiny Titans. Our here is Donatello, and then on the next page we have like the most we have gotten so far. Expect a lot more. But like here we have them 90s members that I didn't think anybody really likes, but they tread just as equal to Shrek Boy our here. To a newbie like me, when I first read this, or even now, I still didn't know much about the Tiny Titans, but I feel that I know enough about these guys here that if they start doing stuff in the story, I'm not thinking, who is this? I don't know who Tony is. What is his powers? They really should do a League of a Superman comic with these exact things. But yeah, Green Lanterns, he was a Tiny Titan for a run in the mid-90s, and I think I identified that run as one that I am possibly interested in. There is him, there's the Bart Simpson's version of the Flask, Donatello is the leader, there's Supergirl, there's Pratt's son, Shrek Boy, I think that is the one that I'm going to check out. Here is 2 pages of Sideburns with all this tech that he has absorbed, and then even more Andy book profiles for Tiny Titans. This story, it strives to have every living member of the team appear, and even the dead ones, they get acknowledgement, and even the sort of part-time, sometimes members like Joker's daughter, they all get a look in. Supergirl and Pratt's son. If anyone has opinions on that run that I mentioned, can you say so down below? It is the post-Zero Hours Christmas in Time lineup. It lasts about a year and a half. There is the Bart Simpson's version of the Flask. And of course, Batman is Batman, so he deduces that everyone who has been taken is a former member of the Tiny Titans. This is an extra-sized comic, by the way. The captured Tiny Titans, they are placed in, like, dream worlds, and Willie West and Dick Grayskull, they quickly realise that it's not the real world. So Dick and Willie and Shrek Boy and Emo Girl, they free themselves and they realise that everyone who was a Tiny Titan has been captured. Here is some more of my beloved Andy book intro card things. These ones are all like Silver Age members. And then we have got some more along the bottom of this page. And there is the current Justice League roster assembled, barring the ones who were captured. We have Steel Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Elastic Man, Onion, Superman, Acroman, Archangel, Cersei from the Eternals, The Vision, Mockingbird, Chelsea Kane, and there is Elastic Man's body. And also Catwoman, who is hanging around. She was like a member, but she was like Batman's secret member of the team. And then most of the Tiny Titans down here, I have no idea who they are, but I feel like I do because of, again, these brilliant Andy book things. And I have already given away the ending, but it is Sideburns. He is responsible for all of this, and this is a fantastic start to a fantastic series. And there's some Andy book profiles for the creators. This is everything that comics should be. If you didn't like this, you didn't deserve comics. If any comic has earned a round of applause, I think it is Justice League versus Tiny Titans. There is only one problem I can pick out with the whole thing, and it is the covers, which I'll talk about if I get to the third issue, maybe. I cannot, in any way, give this less than a 7 thumbs up. More comics like this, please.